The eternal flame of hope. On a cool January morning, the hills of Los Angeles wore a veil of serenity. The sun rose gently, casting golden hues over the sprawling city. Yet beneath this tranquil facade, the winds whispered a foreboding tale. Santa Ana winds, fierce and unrelenting, roared through the canyons, carrying with them the seeds of an impending catastrophe. Dallas Curry sat by her window in her modest Altadena home, sipping tea and watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of amber. At 95, her life had been a symphony of triumphs and tribulations. A luminary of Hollywood's golden era, she was known not just for her on-screen brilliance, but also for the warmth she exuded off-camera. Her home, a sanctuary of memories, stood as a testament to her storied past. Photos of her younger self adorned the walls, her dazzling smile radiating from every frame. "Fire could never take this from me," she often said, her voice resolute. It was a belief forged through years of perseverance. She had survived wars, personal losses, and the highs and lows of fame. The notion of fleeing her sanctuary seemed inconceivable, yet nature had other plans. As the morning progressed, the winds grew wilder, bending trees and scattering embers. By noon, the faint scent of smoke lingered in the air. News of a wildfire crackling to life in the distant hills began to spread, each update more urgent than the last. The Eaton fire was no ordinary blaze. It was a voracious beast, devouring everything in its path. Dallas's granddaughter, Kelly, called repeatedly, her voice filled with urgency. "Mama D, you need to leave. Please, let me come get you." Dallas chuckled softly. "Kelly, my dear, this house has seen worse storms than this. I'll be fine." But as the sun dipped below the horizon, the fire's glow illuminated the sky, a haunting reminder of its relentless march. Roads were sealed off, and chaos gripped the neighborhood. Kelly, unable to reach her grandmother, drove to evacuation centers, calling her name in every room. Desperation clawed at her heart as she prayed for a miracle. The legacy in ashes. By January 12th, after 5 agonizing days of uncertainty, firefighters discovered Dallas's remains amidst the ruins of her home. Kelly stood at the site, the once vibrant house now reduced to ashes. The only relic that survived was Dallas's cherished blue Cadillac, its charred frame a haunting silhouette against the gray expanse. "She always said this house was her sanctuary," Kelly whispered, her voice trembling. "I just wish she had chosen safety over sentiment." Dallas Curry's story became more than a personal tragedy. It was a stark symbol of humanity's fragility in the face of nature's fury. Her life, once defined by the glitz of Hollywood, now stood as a poignant reminder of the importance of preparation, resilience, and the value of life over material possessions. Rory's unyielding spirit. In another corner of Los Angeles, Rory Callum Sykes faced his own battle against the flames. Born with blindness and cerebral palsy, Rory had spent his life defying odds and inspiring those around him. At 45, he was the heart of his community, known for his boundless optimism and the charity he founded to uplift those less fortunate. When the wildfire reached his Palisades home, Rory's mother, Shelley, begged him to leave. "We need to go, Rory. The fire's too close." "This is where our memories live," Rory replied, his voice calm yet resolute. "I can't leave it behind." Shelley tried to reason with him, but Rory's love for his home and the life they had built was unyielding. As the fire closed in, Shelley made the heart-wrenching decision to save what she could, 2 beloved peacocks, and rushed to a nearby fire station for help. But by the time they returned, it was too late. The house was gone, and with it, Rory. The fight for survival. Eugene Levy awoke that fateful morning to sunlight filtering through his Pacific Palisades home, a comforting normalcy masking the chaos brewing just beyond the horizon. His morning routine began as it always did. Fresh coffee in hand, the hum of life resonating softly through the walls of his $3.9 million estate. He was blissfully unaware that within hours, this sanctuary would be consumed by flames. By mid-morning, the Santa Ana winds had intensified, carrying embers that leaped across hillsides, igniting brush with alarming speed. A frantic call from a neighbor shattered Eugene's calm. "Eugene, you have to get out now. The fire's moving too fast." He looked out his window and for the first time saw the faint but unmistakable glow of fire on the horizon. Panic set in. Eugene hurriedly gathered his wife and children, instructing them to pack essentials. But even as they moved quickly, they couldn't avoid the creeping sense of dread. The smoke was getting thicker, and the fiery glow outside grew brighter. As they piled into their car, the scene on the road was pure chaos. Cars inched forward in a desperate attempt to escape, their red taillights like a river of fear snaking through the hills. Smoke engulfed everything, reducing visibility to mere feet. The air was thick with ash, the acrid smell stinging their eyes and lungs. "We'll be okay," Eugene said, gripping the steering wheel tightly. He glanced in the rearview mirror at his children, trying to mask his fear. His wife, seated beside him, clutched a small box of photographs, the only tangible memories they could take with them. The traffic ground to a halt. A gridlock stretched for miles as residents fled en masse. The wind howled, carrying embers that ignited roadside brush. Eugene watched in horror as flames began to creep closer to the line of vehicles. In the distance, he saw a car stall, and its driver abandon it, fleeing on foot. The act sparked a chain reaction, worsening the congestion and adding to the chaos. Eugene considered abandoning his own vehicle, but a glance at his wife and children told him he couldn't risk it. "We're staying together," he said firmly, his voice filled with resolve. A glimmer of hope. As minutes stretched into what felt like hours, the situation grew dire. The heat was oppressive, and the fire seemed to close in with every passing moment. Just as despair began to take hold, a glimmer of hope emerged. The flashing lights of emergency vehicles. Police officers and firefighters worked tirelessly to clear the jam, directing cars to an alternate escape route. Relief washed over Eugene as their car finally began to move. The family navigated the winding roads, following the guidance of first responders who braved the inferno to ensure the safety of others. Hours later, Eugene and his family reached a temporary evacuation center. Exhausted but alive, they huddled together, grateful for their escape. It was there that Eugene learned the devastating news. Their home, along with countless others, had been completely destroyed, rising from the ashes. Despite the loss of his home, Eugene was resolute. "A house can be rebuilt. My family is safe. That's all that matters," he said to reporters in the days following the fire. His words resonated with many who had lost everything, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the despair. Eugene quickly became a vocal advocate for wildfire prevention and community resilience. Using his platform, he rallied support for relief efforts, donating generously to organizations aiding displaced families. "We need to come together as a community," he urged. "This isn't just about rebuilding homes. It's about rebuilding lives." For Eugene, the fire served as a sobering reminder of life's fragility and the power of collective action. His story became one of resilience and hope, inspiring others to find strength in the face of unimaginable loss, courage in the face of chaos. Mark Hamill sat on the sun-drenched deck of his Malibu home, sipping tea as the early morning waves rolled lazily against the shore. Malibu had always been his sanctuary, a retreat from the chaos of Hollywood, a place where the legendary Star Wars actor could reconnect with himself and his family. The soft hum of the Pacific Ocean had lulled him into a sense of peace that morning, one he would later recall with painful nostalgia. By midday, the peace was shattered. The Santa Ana winds carried a warning. Ash began to fall like macabre snowflakes, and the sky shifted from blue to an ominous shade of orange. The air grew thick and acrid, filled with the unmistakable smell of burning vegetation. An emergency alert buzzed on Mark's phone, ordering immediate evacuation. He froze for a moment, staring at the words on the screen. Evacuate now. Wildfire threat. Marillo, grab the kids. He called out, his voice steady but urgent. His wife emerged from the kitchen, their dog tucked under one arm, and her other hand clutching a bag stuffed hastily with documents and cherished keepsakes. The family moved quickly, piling into their car with a few hastily packed essentials. The Pacific Coast Highway, usually a picturesque drive along the ocean, had transformed into a chaotic artery of escape. Cars lined the road for miles, their occupants desperate to flee the advancing flames. Smoke blanketed the landscape, obscuring the road ahead, and making every turn a leap of faith. A journey through an inferno. The drive was surreal, like a scene from one of Mark's movies, but without the safety of a script or special effects. Flames licked at the edges of the highway, and the winds whipped embers into whirlwinds of fire that danced menacingly close. Every gust brought the inferno closer, and every mile felt like an eternity. Marillo clutched their dog tightly, her knuckles white with tension. "Keep your eyes on the road," she said softly, her voice trembling. "I am," Mark replied, though he could barely see more than a few feet ahead. His hands gripped the wheel tightly, knuckles matching the pallor of his wife's. He stole a glance in the rearview mirror, his children huddled together in the back seat, their wide eyes reflecting the terror of the moment. As they inched forward, Mark noticed a stalled car ahead. The driver had abandoned it, fleeing on foot. The obstacle threatened to choke the already congested road, trapping those behind it in a fiery bottleneck. Without hesitation, Mark pulled over. "Stay here," he said to his family, determination hardening his voice. He ran toward the car, coughing as the smoke clawed at his lungs. With the help of another evacuee, he pushed the vehicle to the side of the road, clearing the path for others. "Keep moving," he shouted to the line of cars behind him. Returning to his own car, he was met with Marillo's tearful gaze. "You're crazy," she said, her voice breaking. But there was pride in her eyes too. A battle for perspective. Hours later, they reached a safe zone, exhausted and shaken but alive. Mark learned that his home, along with much of Malibu, had been consumed by the flames. The realization hit him like a tidal wave. The house had been more than just a structure. It was a haven where his family had built years of memories. But Mark refused to let despair take hold. He took to social media, sharing his experience to raise awareness and rally support for relief efforts. "We were lucky," he wrote. "We escaped with our lives, but so many weren't as fortunate. We need to do more, prepare better, respond faster, and protect each other." In the weeks that followed, Mark became an outspoken advocate for addressing climate change and improving disaster preparedness. He used his platform to amplify the stories of those who had lost everything, urging his fans and followers to take action. A call to action. Mark's experience wasn't just a personal tragedy, it was a wake-up call. "The fire showed me how fragile life is," he said in an interview. "We take so much for granted, our homes, our safety. But when nature reminds us of its power, it doesn't discriminate." He urged communities to band together, to learn from these tragedies rather than simply mourn them. "We can rebuild," he said, "but rebuilding isn't enough. We need to change the way we live, the way we care for our planet and each other." Mark's words resonated deeply, inspiring others to see beyond their losses and work toward a collective future. For him, the fire was a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, there is always light to be found, through courage, through unity, and through hope. Rising from the ashes. As the fire subsided and the once vibrant hills of Los Angeles lay cloaked in smoldering ashes, the survivors of this harrowing tragedy faced the daunting task of rebuilding their lives. The stories of Dallas Curry, Rory Sykes, Eugene Levy, Mark Hamill, and countless others served as a tapestry of resilience, loss, and hope. Each narrative wove together a broader lesson. While nature's power can devastate, it can also inspire unity and renewal. The fragility of life. The fire had been indiscriminate in its destruction, reducing mansions and modest homes alike to rubble. It left behind a poignant reminder that despite humanity's advancements, we are still vulnerable to the forces of nature. This shared fragility brought communities together in ways that transcended wealth and status. Eugene Levy, who lost his home, but not his family, reflected on this truth. We often think we're invincible, that our possessions define us. But when the fire came, none of that mattered. What mattered was life, the people we love, and the connections we share. Lessons in preparedness. Dallas Curry's tragic passing and Rory Sykes' heartbreaking decision to stay behind illuminated the gaps in disaster preparedness. Kelly, Dallas's granddaughter, became an advocate for emergency education, urging families to have evacuation plans and to prioritize safety over sentiment. Grandma believed her home was her sanctuary, Kelly said, but safety must always come first. We owe it to our loved ones to be prepared. Similarly, Shelley Sykes, Rory's mother, transformed her grief into action. She spearheaded a community initiative to educate others about fire safety and to push for better emergency infrastructure. Rory taught me that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it. I carry that lesson forward in his honor, Shelley shared. The power of unity. Mark Hamill's and Steve Guttenberg's stories underscored the importance of community in times of crisis. Steve's decision to help clear evacuation routes saved lives and inspired others to act selflessly. In moments like these, it's not about what you own or who you are, Steve said. It's about what you do to help others. Mark echoed this sentiment, using his platform to highlight the bravery of first responders and the need for collective action. We saw the worst of nature, but we also saw the best of humanity. When people came together to help each other, it reminded us all of what truly matters. A call for change. The wildfires also shone a harsh light on the broader issues of climate change and environmental mismanagement. James Woods, Eugene Levy, and others called for systemic changes to prevent such disasters from becoming the norm. This wasn't just a fire, it was a warning, Eugene said. We can't keep ignoring the signs. We need to take better care of our planet and each other. In the aftermath, grassroots movements gained momentum, pushing for sustainable land management, improved emergency response systems, and greater accountability from both individuals and institutions. The voices of survivors became a rallying cry for change, ensuring that the sacrifices of those who were lost were not in vain. Hope in the ashes. Months after the fire, new life began to sprout in the charred landscapes. Green shoots emerged from blackened soil, a symbol of nature's resilience. Communities, too, began to rebuild. Homes were reconstructed, lives pieced back together, and bonds strengthened in the shared journey of recovery. For Kelly, Shelley, Eugene, Mark, and Steve, the fire had left scars, both physical and emotional, but it had also kindled a deeper appreciation for life's fleeting beauty. Their stories served as a beacon of hope, reminding others that even in the darkest times, there is light to be found. The lesson we must learn. The wildfires of Los Angeles were not merely a disaster. They were a lesson written in flames. They reminded us of our vulnerability, the importance of preparation, and the need to cherish what truly matters: life, love, and the connections that bind us. As Mark Hamill put it, we can't control the wind or the flames, but we can control how we respond. Let's use this tragedy not as an endpoint, but as a beginning, a chance to rebuild better, live smarter, and love harder. And so, as the stars who once graced the red carpet and the everyday heroes of the community rose from the ashes, their collective story became one of hope, resilience, and a promise to do better, for each other and for the world we share.